I'm just thinking all this can be solved with just a simple conversation. And that's not good when that's what you're thinking about during a movie.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go check us in.
I'm gonna go get us checked in. Oh no. We've double booked your weddings. What?
Drive-by movies you're watching.
Fresh releases.
My name's Blaise.
And I'm James.
And this week, we're talking about You're Cordially Invited.
I caught this guy and I was gonna unleash him, but then I wrestled him too hard and now I think he's dead.
That's not dead.
Well, you don't know from... Oh! Okay.
Pick it up!
See you later, alligator!
Do we still not know how the alligator got into the room?
No, we don't. We don't know.
You're Cordially Invited was brought to you by Amazon Prime this week. It's about when two weddings are double booked at the same venue. The father of one bride and the sister of the other bride try to preserve the wedding weekend. So I feel like it's been quite some time since we've been seeing Will Ferrell get a leading role for a comedy. And here we are finally. What was his last movie that he got? I've been seeing him on the news with his elf stunt that he did at a LA Kings game. And I know he's done a couple TV cameos here and there, but I miss getting Will Ferrell movies. Is this movie a return to form for him? Blaise, I'll let you answer that first.
Just put me on the spot. Sadly, I would say there are glimpses here. There are honestly glimpses. There are parts and scenes that are funny in this movie, but overall, I think that when it comes to the film's lacking, it really isn't just the writing department solely. And I felt like even the concept wasn't a bad concept. I just feel like Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell are giving it their all. It just is to kind of a script that's kind of annoying and the characters are very petty and unlikable, and that's kind of what detracts from seeing a Will Ferrell comedy like you had mentioned.
Yeah, for me, honestly, I think what's missing is just the lack of jokes, and all that has to come in through the writing department. Will Ferrell's known for a lot of ad-libbing and also improvising his sequences. I know for that movie Blades of Glory, apparently 80% of his lines in the movie are all just lines of dialogue he came up with in the spot. And this movie just doesn't have that authenticity to it whatsoever. Just everything feels scripted, and the jokes are just the actions of the sequences, where I'm just no, where are the people to react and tell a joke out of this crazy sequence? What should have been funny was the father-daughter dance sequence and the uncomfortable lyrics they were singing to one another. But that's not enough to make it funny. You need to have the proper reactions. And there were a couple people being this is a little inappropriate, but he could have got filthy raunchy with it. This movie's streaming. Who are you hiding from? Make it rated R, make it unrated. And this movie's just afraid to do that. And whether or not that's all comedies these days, kind of hard to say, but just this just felt like a very just boring, dull, not even trying kind of movie, which is unfortunate because it's got a very likable cast.
Did it feel like a straight to streamer movie though? Because I wrestled with that. I'm what does that really mean, straight to streamer? And is this that feeling? I'm not really sure, because I feel we don't see comedies that often anymore, and that's not just a theatrical thing. I think they pop up every now and again, but it's nowhere close to even when straight to streaming movies came out, there were way more comedies than there are now.
Right, absolutely. And I guess overall this movie feels like a studio movie, but just feels maybe the studio didn't believe it and sold it to streaming. That's kind of what this feels like. It just feels like a lot of those movies that were supposed to come out back in 2020, 2021 and were bought by Netflix. I love Kumail Nanjiani, and I forget the movie. I think it was called Lovebirds, that was bought by Netflix. That was a studio movie. I remember seeing the trailer for it, and I was just oh, I really like this cast, and hope for the best within the movie. And I thought the trailer had me interested enough, but just that was another movie where we reviewed it here on the show, where we're just what is the joke? Where is the joke within this? It's just a bunch of weird action sequences and people yelling, and it's supposed to be funny, and that's just what we got here. It's just a lot of studios are afraid to take risks, but some of these indie studios pushing movies like Bottoms, I guess, is still a movie that I'm remembering from 2 years ago that's actually funny and raunchy.
Yeah, I do feel like there's mainly a problem. I mean, we know that it's pretty much been out in the open. It's not like we're uncovering anything here, but there has been a problem with studios not creating comedies because basically there's no international like money in comedies because it just stuff gets lost in the language, essentially. So I do think that there is an opening, and I've been thinking this for a while, that there's probably going to be an opening for somebody to make, a down and dirty comedy that maybe even is starring like comedians that's made just strictly for a US market. And that, can kind of circumvent the studio system, but kind of still approach the US market with, a different distribution style that's maybe more along the lines of something like Terrifier, or thinking back in the day like a Paranormal Activity, where it was clearly word of mouth and it was like the film was like traveling and you had to like text a number or something. Obviously we're not going to be texting a number, but I'm just saying like that could be an exciting kind of new way to release a movie in 2020, whatever the 2025 version of that is, basically. But yeah, I think that this is kind of just one of those last kind of like dying breaths of the studio comedy. It felt like, in a way, like as sad as it kind of is, it does feel like the studio, whoever it was, maybe gave up on it, or even Amazon didn't really let the reins loose with this one. Or just maybe the script that was there from the start never really got punched up to that comedic perfection that it really deserved.
Right, yeah, and I felt like all the right pieces were there, just because I think it's a fun and clever enough plot to set up. And like I said, I liked Will Ferrell and Reese Witherspoon, despite them not having the most chemistry. They were supposed to hate each other, and then, we kind of pushed things for them towards the end of the movie. Minor spoilers there, sorry about that, but I just had a hard time believing it, and just the whole movie also, I'm just thinking all this can be solved with just a simple conversation, and that's not good when that's what you're thinking about during a movie. I should have been, really into the comedy and just enjoying the performances and laughing along, but when I'm thinking like, all you guys got to do is talk to each other and we wouldn't be in this situation. Like, that's what I'm thinking about, and that's just unfortunate in my eyes.
All you guys got to do is talk to on the podcast, that's what I thought you were going to say for some reason. But one thing I will say about this movie was I do agree with you. It was very like unbelievable towards the end. It takes kind of a crazy route where you're like, this is just ridiculous. Like, it's not ridiculous in the sense of the movie, but it's ridiculous in the sense of like you as a viewer, you're like, I'm not emotionally where they think I'm supposed to be at this moment. Like, they haven't taken me on that journey, and it's not believable. I thought the casting, was well done. It was cool to see Rory Scovel, who's a comedian that I feel like has never really got that moment. Sadly, this isn't that moment either, but I feel like at some point he's going to do enough of these where he's going to have his moment to shine. And I think he does have some funny scenes in this movie, but it still goes back to the script. There's really not enough for him to do with the small role that he has in this movie.
Right, yeah, I kind of have that like Will Arnett feeling for him, where he does stand out in a lot of the movies, but just downfall is some of those movies aren't the most well received. Because Will Arnett, was in every comedy you can think of in that mid 2000s to the mid 2010s as a very small side character. But more recently now he's finally getting like some of those leading roles, thanks to like working on TV like BoJack Horseman and stuff. And so hopefully that happens for Rory Scovel, because I do remember his sequences and him making me laugh quite a bit during his moments. But yeah, overall, I could sound like I was beating down this movie like crazy. I didn't really care for it. It's not the worst movie in the world, but it's not a great way to start 2025. Because I was looking forward to it. I really hope that this is the movie that was gonna, get Will Ferrell back into making more movies and stuff. Like, he hasn't gone anywhere. I know he also came out with a documentary on Netflix that I want to check out, but just I miss seeing his comedies, and just sadly this movie wasn't it. And hopefully we still get more with him, and hopefully he reunites with Adam McKay maybe.
I think that ship's probably sailed, to be honest. I think Adam McKay is now in his Prestige picture arc. But I think if that ship sinks, we're going back to like Step Bros 2 or something. Maybe not a sequel. I'd prefer if they just did something original. But I mean, I think they did lose steam towards the end of that arc, so it was kind of fine that ended. But I do think Will Ferrell has a couple other like great movies in him, so I think that we'll see him. Is just when will they arise?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. So, what are your thoughts on the movie? You can check it out through Amazon Prime. It's a great way to help support the show just by leaving a comment down below with your thoughts on the movie. Also, if you don't have Amazon Prime, though, you can also rent it through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below for Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, as well as our own personal letterbox accounts. That'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.